Welcome back, everyone. What a great conference we've had today. Next up, we have Renforth Resources, Inc. It trades on the OTCQB under the symbol RFHRF and on the CSE under the symbol RFR, and is a secure multi-commodity area play with a dominant brownfield land position south of the world-class Cadillac-Larder Lake Fault in the prolific Cadillac and Malartic mining camps of Quebec's Abitibi, offering exposure to gold, zinc, nickel, copper, cobalt, and more, including lithium. Renforth's land position encompasses several areas of interest. Please welcome President and CEO Nicole Brewster. Nice to see you, Nicole.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me once again. So I wanted to take this opportunity to give everyone a little bit of an update. I don't know if you get my Renforth Resources emails that I send out in conjunction with every press release we put out. If you don't, you should sign up on our website. You'll find it at the bottom of the homepage, renforthresources.com. Subsequent to our last press release and that email going out, there have been a couple developments, but I'm going to back up a step in case I have anybody new with me. We're going to talk about what is Renforth. So first and foremost, I'm the president and the CEO. You're always cautioned to do your own due diligence. Nothing I say is impartial. And if I do make any forward-looking statements, those are, of course, inadvertent. However, they're also not guarantees. They rely on certain other things coming to pass, which may or may not. So you're duly cautioned. And please, if you have any questions, reach out to me directly, Nicole at renforthresources.com. So what is Renforth? Renforth is a junior exploration company with some incredibly interesting assets. The top two in our fairly deep, actually, portfolio of assets are shown on this slide. The Parbec. Parbec is a gold deposit. It's next door to Canada's largest open pit gold mine. It's on the Cadillac-Larder Lake Fault, which stretches from Kirkland Lake to Val-d'Or. It's several hundred kilometers long, several tens of millions of ounces of gold either produced in resource to be produced. It's a big deal. That big deal is the reason that our Surimo property, which is to the south and spans about 330 square kilometers, was left largely untouched with incidental exploration, discovery in the 40s, a little bit in the 60s, a little bit in the 80s. Nobody cared because it's what was called base metals, although there's gold on the property. But it's just south of all these established mining camps. The Cadillac camp, centered around the town of Cadillac, was the most prolific and most profit-generating gold camp in Quebec and Canada's history, and Malartic is a going concern with the Canadian Malartic mine. So that's all well and good. It left us some totally unexplored brownfield ground with known mineralization. We're talking about critical metals. We have two established mineralized horizons. The main one is the Victoria. It stretches across the center of the property. It gives us polymetallic nickel. So we get nickel, cobalt, platinum group elements, and it's interlaced with VMS, a shear zone, which gives us zinc, copper, gold, and silver. And then in this past December, we did some drilling and we discovered we need to pay attention to something we previously ignored, which is a graphitic mudstone or a shale. And it's mineralized. There's a lot of it, a lot more in the west end than what we saw in the center. And that's just happenstance. That just happens to be where we drilled. That's not a definitive statement as of yet. But it's layers, it's mineralized, we can't ignore it. So we have three lithologies we're concerned about for battery metals. And this map doesn't really show you that we're in the southern part of Quebec. We're south of the town of Cadillac. We're south of Rouen and Val-d'Or. We're just south of the Trans-Canada Northern Route Highway, so federal highway. Property has roads across it, has rail along the top. It has hydroelectric power lines from the generating stations you see in this map to the south. Our logistics are unparalleled. And we have battery metals. We're early stage. Do not let me say anything else. We got a lot of work to do, but it's worth doing. Why is it worth doing? Well, we're in a market where nickel is coming to the market, largely out of Indonesia, at a hideous environmental cost. Laterite ore being double worked into class 1 nickel. They make a matte, then they process the matte to make the class 1 nickel. The carbon cost, the fact that they've grandfathered tailings going into the ocean, into deep trenches that we don't know what's at the bottom of the trench. It's deep. We won't worry about it. the fact that it's an island nation, it's destroying the indigenous way of life. That's what the story about Indonesia. ESG, it's not a value in Indonesia, and certain car makers are okay with that. However, I don't think that'll stand the test of time. Sulfide nickel is a much less carbon-intensive source for nickel. North America, Canada, sulfide nickel. And in addition to that, the ultramafics, which host the nickel at Surimo, sequester carbon from the environment when they're exposed to oxygen. And our logistics, a lot of the way to cut out the carbon cost of a commodity is to have the commodity located close to the source of demand for the commodity. So Quebec is very well located for the EV revolution. So Ernst & Young just recently quoted the top 10 business risks. You can read this. However, we've got them all in hand. ESG, we're established mining community, First Nations relationship. We're at the exploration stage, doing the best we can. Geopolitics, it's a secure jurisdiction. And climate change, we've actually seen climate change affect us. And this is part of the reason I'm talking to you today. Over the weekend, not a couple days ago, the weekend before, they actually reduced the fire restrictions. So our ground is now open to work. We've gone back around. We've circled back to the staff we had to release earlier in May when we couldn't put them in the field due to the fires. And I'm hopeful, well, they come back into town next week. Hopefully we can turn them around and have them back on the property by the end of July. Otherwise, definitely in August. At the end of the presentation, I'll tell you what they'll be doing. So we need to, you'll find this presentation with many more slides on my website. But suffice to say, North America, the Canadian government, we can be a good source of nickel with better ESG values, better carbon values. It's sulfide. It makes a difference. Hopefully we see our government step up and start to promote. Unlike the current nickel market in the middle of this slide, you'll see it's coming from low government scores, high emission intensity. And that's just the reality. Nickel's coming from coming to market in a bad way right now, and we need to shift that narrative if EV is going to have any true ESG value. And I'm hopeful that narrative will include Surimo and North America in general. This image has done its rounds. However, it does tell you we're coming into a market where we need a lot more of all the metals. And Surimo, we don't know what metal we're most concerned with yet at Surimo. However, in the running, we have zinc, which is not an EV metal, actually. We have nickel, we have copper, we have cobalt, we have the platinum group elements. We also have lithium, we have cesium, we have other rare earth elements in play. Don't forget Surimo's 330 square kilometers, and we've only scratched the surface. We actually can't yet tell you what we have at Surimo because we have a whole lot of indicators to follow up on. Investment in the raw material space at the very upstream, the start of the upstream, has been very lax as compared to the investment in EVs and battery factories, gigafactories. The market is realizing that they have to move backwards, and Quebec is very well positioned. Bécancour is the battery hub that the province of Quebec is promoting. We are pretty much straight to the left of Bécancour near the border with Ontario. Ontario is the third largest automotive manufacturer in North America. So we're very well positioned. And as you continue the eastern seaboard into the United States is important. The U.S. Department of Energy has identified in the short term what materials are critical in terms of supply risk and how important they are. And you can see, you can all read, you can see that nickel's kind of, supply risk isn't bad, but it's fairly important, and it is important. Nickel's in every battery. It really doesn't matter what the cathode chemistry is. You're still coming back to nickel. Over and above the inherent nickel market, which is involved in the production of stainless steel and just the general population growth around the world and infrastructure revitalization, new housing being built, et cetera, et cetera. EV is a demand that's layered over an existingly tight market. So the nickel market's kind of an interesting thing right now. You saw it go nuclear with the shorting and the cornering of the market. I digress. We'll leave the LME saga alone. Now, this is the short term up to 2025. Nickel, look where it goes longer term. There's a nickel problem looming. Will Surmo serve that nickel problem? Surmo is nickel. It's low-grade nickel, potentially a lot of low-grade nickel, though. Different paradigm. It'll be my challenge to explain to the market that low-grade works when you have large scale, especially when it's at surface like we are. It's over 20 kilometers at Victoria. It's at Lalonde as well, but we truly are not as focused on Lalonde. Can we make it work? Time will tell, but honestly, Renforth trades at 2.5 cents in Canada. I don't actually know what the price in the US is. I'm sorry. And we've got the metal. We're not looking for it. We have it. We just have to do more work. And the work at Surmo is worth doing. So what is the work we're going to do? This map shows you at Surmo the extent of the prospecting we've done. It's a big property. Across the middle of the property, Victoria West, Victoria Colony, to put things in perspective, that's about 20 kilometers in width, give or take. We are very prospective. This slide is actually speaking to prospectivity for lithium. The DeSales batholith, which is the pinky color at the bottom of the slide, is what we call a fertile batholith. The only source of lithium in the camp is just off to our western border at the Cadillac showing of Vision Lithium. We have the same setting. We have pegmatites. We do have lithium. We haven't seen spodumene yet. We've done about 10 days worth of work. So once we get staff and we're able to go back out towards the end of this month, August, September, while we can prospect, which is what we will do because otherwise we'll deal with snow by October, we'll be looking at the pegmatites to see if we have any spodumene-bearing pegmatites. We have a good bit of prospecting still to do. We also will be doing something else. The soil sampling coverage, that's what this slide is showing you. Over a handful, I believe that I have to put on my reading glasses. Anyway, in the bottom left-hand corner of the slide, it tells you the studies that did do some amount of soil sampling. Those green dots are about 400 meters apart, so that's incredibly broad sampling. However, we've got soil sampling. We will do more because the soil sampling that was done has shown us anomalies, anomalous areas, anomalous results. And of course, some of the anomalies run with what we already know, the Victoria horizon. You can see across the middle. It's a semi-continuous line there. Has a number of anomalies associated with it, as does the Lalonde, which is 4 kilometers to the north. However, in between, we've done very little prospecting. If you go back to this slide, which shows you all the prospecting on the property, not just the lithium, and we've got anomalies. We've got anomalies within the batholith. We have anomalies in the margin of the batholith. We have lookalikes to the Cadillac spodumene showing just off to the west. So we got our work cut out for us. And that's really what this update is for. I know it's quiet. I know I haven't had much to say because we haven't been able to go in the field, and we meant to be in the field. We have wildfires everywhere in this country. Fortunately for us, they've moved somewhat to the north. Unfortunately, there's not been a lot of rain. I still have concerns, but we will get the staff out there while we can. We will do the prospecting. And rest assured, the Renforth shareholders I'm speaking to, that in the background, we're doing lots of work anyway. That's it, Anna. That's my quick and dirty update.
Great job, Nicole. Are you up for a few questions?
Heck yeah.
Okay, so we have a few questions from Dennis. What's the next major milestone to cross with any of these properties?
Okay, so the major milestone at Surmo would be a maiden resource, but I can't give you a timeline on that, Dennis, because on the one hand, there's a hell of a lot of performance anxiety. Like we've drilled off 2.2 kilometers of Victoria in the center, but what if we're in the wrong spot? What if there's a better spot to do that maiden resource? So the milestone, for example, I was talking to a private equity group yesterday. They'll start paying attention once we have a resource in place. So really, I've got to start narrowing it down and work towards some sort of resource at Surmo. Parbec, it's a resource update. That's the next thing on deck for Parbec.
And are you looking to partner? Are you looking to produce, potentially sell royalties? Which way are you leaning?
With Parbec, I'd love to sell Parbec, but I haven't had a deal offered to me yet that has really made it worthwhile. And there's no burning fire because we still sit on $1.5 million in equity and an amount of cash in the treasury. So I'm not stressed or kept awake at night in that regard. We have many other properties in the company. If I could sell those and monetize them, I would not hesitate to do so. Surimo, we are going to hold Surimo on Renforth's books in a subsidiary. We're going to isolate all the costs. And Surimo, we will be looking for a partner. But like I mentioned, the private equity, they'd come in as a partner, but they won't come in until there's a resource. So I think to get a partner, we've got to do the resource. So we kind of got to isolate. And I'm working with a resource company, a resource modeling company right now. They've just completed a model of Surimo. They've got some thoughts they want to share with me. Targets, places to look. Surimo has legs already, but I'm loath to put out a resource right now. So we'll do more work before we put that resource out. Then we'll find that partner, Dennis, to answer the question.
And Connor says, great to hear about Parbec. When should we expect that?
The update, Connor, I'm thrilled that you're excited by that, honestly, because gold's been freaking gyrating sideways, and we're not going to go into theories about the gold market, but when should we expect it? From the one hand, Connor, to just do the same, update the resource we did before, do the same again. It's probably a couple of months out. However, I'm far more intrigued by a new group that has a different look at Parbec. Parbec's very high grade, and that's lost in our current resource. So the question, Connor, and feel free to email me later, Nicole at renforthresources.com, is which holds more value, more ounces at a lower grade or a high grade resource with fewer ounces, given that we have some very skinny gold mines operating, for example, right next door? Leave that to you, Connor. Email me.
And last question for you, Nicole, from Reed Bauer. When's the next trip for the staff?
Trip for the staff? I don't understand Reed Bauer. Reed Bauer, myself, I will be out in the property maybe sometime in August, definitely in September. There's no staff in Renforth, Reed. I'm a contractor. The CFO's a contractor. We both take shares. We have no employees, honestly. So the contractors will be out there, and typically I go out to see what's going on. I might go out to do a bit of prospecting, and now I've come up with a harebrained idea to go to a totally different property and do some work. So we'll see what happens. Maybe August, definitely September.
Perfect. Thank you, Nicole, for this update. As always, it's been a pleasure, and we look forward to seeing you again in the near future.
Thanks, Anna. Enjoy the summer. See you later.
You too. Bye. All right, everyone. What a great day. We've had a super successful 2-day super virtual conference. And thank you all for joining us. Know that just a second, you're going to be redirected to the registration page for our next conference in August. So stay on to reserve your spot early. On behalf of all of us at Emerging Growth, thank you to all of our presenters and our attendees for making this such a great success. And remember, there's going to be a complete replay of this conference on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Emerging Growth Conference. Subscribe there and follow us on Twitter at Emerging Growth C. We always post new information to Twitter first. I'm Anna Berry, and on behalf of our entire team, we thank you all and wish you a happy, healthy, and successful rest of your week. We'll see you again soon.